Constructivism encompasses concepts around individuals' development of knowledge and the impact that the individual's environment, social interactions can have on how they construct understanding. ICT can play an important role here in encouraging constructivism in the classroom, fostering learning as a shared communal experience. Collaboration through online apps and access to a wealth of information on the internet can assist students in furthering their learning as individuals and socially. However, it is important to recognise that ICT are only tools and on their own do not create learning and learners. It's still up to teachers to use ICT resources to foster critical and creative thinking where students can share and access in creating knowledge. So I'm going to discuss 3 ICT that I believe will be useful in the teaching of history and more broadly in promoting interactive, critical and creative thinking. I've chosen these 3 ICT resources because they each bring something different to the teaching of history. One providing access to video content, the second a tool for scaling and representing graphically historical events, and the third a general app that promotes collaborative thinking and research brainstorming. They all, when used appropriately and with the facilitation of a teacher, can foster critical thinking, creativity, giving them skills and tools to question, investigate and develop their own conclusions, and even moving into communal constructivism, the creation of knowledge and content for other learners potentially. The first one I'm going to look at is YouTube, a platform that all students will most likely be familiar with. It's now an integral part of any study of history, as it provides access to primary source video and images that even a generation ago would have been hidden in archives. It's an important ICT resource to discuss in regards to constructivism because it's already such a common part of the young lives of people. Social media and online content is how many students would already be constructing their understanding of the world, society, and current events. So it's vital that teachers show them how to understand and question what they're seeing and experiencing. YouTube is a platform that allows for the distribution of video content. The quality of the content ranges from professionally produced movies and documentaries to amateur footage, but some of the most powerful footage of the modern age, such as the killing of George Floyd, was uploaded onto YouTube, where it's quickly accessed and shared by millions of people around the world. So video sharing can literally change the world. It does change the world, and we want students to be a part of this discourse, but in a safe and ethical manner. Access to this sort of content in the history classroom is very powerful. Rather than just reading about a topic, we can use YouTube to watch video footage to supplement teaching and learning. Rather than just like reading about Adolf Hitler in a book, we can now view his speeches and view content, bring history to life. Viewing content broadens students' minds and most importantly promotes empathy as they're witnessing real people, real events. And it's this developing empathy, I think, is a key aspect of constructivism in the history classroom. So beyond primary source content, there's also a plethora of very reputable YouTube channels that create content specifically for schools, give you access to museums and to experts, give you really authoritative view of history in the classroom. I guess beyond just the accessing and viewing of content, though, YouTube and video sharing is really powerful because it gives students the ability to participate in this discourse. There's enormous scope for producing and publishing online content, able to use video, text, image, voice, animation. This gives students the option to produce and publish content catering to a really diverse range of learners, some of whom have skills and interests beyond stock standard history assessments of worksheets and essays. Also students such as culturally and linguistically diverse students may be able to express themselves or demonstrate understanding better using multimedia rather than written text. I guess video sharing and the creation of multimedia content also supports constructivism, as you're empowering students to develop skills and interests, not just treating them all the same and giving them one textual option for assessment and learning. And it also allows students to participate and interact in the creation of perspective, knowledge, and understanding for themselves and others. So clearly, YouTube video sharing, very powerful. However, there of course are issues for students in how this can be implemented safely, so that it aids learning without students accessing inappropriate content or being misled by purported experts or seemingly authoritative content. This is very important. So effectively, the ethical use of YouTube really revolves around being able to identify fact from fiction, fact from opinion, as well as restricting access to harmful content. Students already have access to pretty much the full gamut of information on YouTube, so we need to teach them skills to make sure that as they construct their understanding of the world, a lot of it based on content from the internet, that they're not being influenced at such an impressionable age. And this really feeds into literacy, which is one of the general capabilities of the Australian curriculum. And a key aspect of literacy development is the ability to not just understand a text, but to interrogate it, to determine purpose, bias, and determine inaccuracy. We want to support access to this resource for social constructivism of learning, of development of learners, so that they can understand, synthesize, and interrogate information. The next program we're going to look at is called Time Toast. Time Toast is a timeline application that allows you to graphically represent history in either creating timelines or accessing publicly available timelines. You can scale your own timeline and then add text, video, images. There's also collaborative features so that multiple students or pairs can develop the same timeline. So like this is a very simple one of World War II, but they can be multi-layered and as complex as you could possibly make them. I think time toasts and timelines can be used in the classroom, I guess, and developed right throughout, maybe a whole semester or a year of study, using it as sort of a scoping tool, like the sort of baseline, showing how different areas you've focused and covered in the classroom relate to each other in historical sequence, rather than sometimes being sort of disparate as you jump around from one period to another. So it could be used, to really scope out and link up history, which would again especially useful in facilitating constructivism, because students can see how everything is related, the world is related, events are related, see their place in the history in a very simple graphic way that maybe makes again history come alive in a different way to maybe just reading about it or looking at dates and text. And again, it also really, I think, caters for a diverse range of learners and learning styles, because you can drill down into it and use text, or you can use video, image, multimedia. There's lots of options there. The collaborative options mean that students can work and build on and share understanding and learning. So again, I guess it's a great way for students to convey their own meaning and understanding, and then construct further knowledge, by working off each other. Now, the third ICT that I will look at supports the history classroom, but goes a lot broader, which is MindMeister. It's a mind mapping application. I'm a really big fan of mind mapping. I think it's a very effective way to break down complexity and promote metacognition. So it'd be useful for almost any area of study, really. Very powerful. It'd be used more as a background application rather than something you'd use maybe for an assessment. It's a tool to aid planning, brainstorming, the like. It's basically scaffolding for thinking, so it'll be really useful for students who have language or learning difficulties when it comes to tackling complexity. And often it's that first step in how to break a task down. How do you know where to begin? So MindMeister is a sort of supporting scaffolding tool, really useful in planning, researching, and assisting to break down complexity, facilitate understanding, facilitate constructive thinking and planning for all levels and abilities. It's really easy to use. You can create links, you can create nested ideas, you can go down to as many levels of detail as you want. There's collaborative functionality, which can be useful for pairs or groups of students to work together, or for student-teacher collaboration, especially with students who may have difficulty in the early planning stages of work. That the teacher could help or review their mind map, work with them on that to sort of give them the chance to move ahead with a task. So as an application, I think this is really really powerful thinking tool, scaffolding for any real sort of classroom. So I guess that quickly just shows 3 ICT resources that could use to facilitate critical, creative thinking and support the learner constructivism. When used ethically and safely under the guidance of a teacher, they can foster inclusion for the diverse range of learners in the modern classroom, and give everyone the opportunity to interact, understand, and contribute to the development and learning of themselves and others in a diverse array of means.